Now I know what some of you are going to be saying when you look through this. Why do we have to do this again? Because without it, you're going to pretty much be in a lot of trouble on the next stuff that we're doing, okay? So this is stuff you used to have before. So we need to solve the equations for x. I would suggest we watch some videos because not all problems are the same when we solve for x. And it says 8 equals x minus 13, okay? Okay, so here's my single x, so I should have a number in front of it. It's going to be a 1, and then I'm going to circle and dot it. Now the x that I have is over here, okay? So the 13, we got to take care of that. So I switch that to plus 13 and cross it off. Now I go to the other side with the 8 and plus 13 there. Now I drop my equals. 8 plus 13 is 21. And I've got my 1 dot x. Now, if the dot number is a 1, you can just get rid of it, okay? And that's your answer, because there's no point in dividing a number by 1. Okay. My next one, negative 4x equals negative 44. So here's my equals. So here's my x right there. I want to dot that and circle it. Okay, so here's my x, this side. Well, there's nothing outside the circle, so I don't need to add or subtract. All I need to do is divide by the negative 4 on both sides. Okay, so those can cancel. And negative 44 divided by negative 4 is 11, okay? Okay, now the next problem, you have a fraction. So when you have a fraction, what we want to do is cross multiply and divide. What I'm going to be doing is underlining the 2 and putting a 1 underneath it. So again, I want to cross multiply and divide, okay? So the two numbers that line up diagonally are negative 4 and 32. So I take negative 4 times 32, and then I divide that by 1, okay? So negative 128. That's how you solve for x if you have a fraction, okay? Okay, my next one, I'm back to not having a fraction, so I find my x, the only one that's there, and dot it and circle it. And outside of that circle, I've got a minus 4, so I would want to switch that to adding 4, so plus 4, plus 4. So over here I've got 6 dot x, and 14 plus 4 is 18. Now, since the dot number is a 6, we need to divide both sides by our 6. And 18 divided by 6 is 3. Okay, so that means x equals 3. Okay, I've got another fraction, okay? But before I put a 1 under the 9, we have a little problem here with this 3, okay? I need to switch that 3 to a plus 3. And now 9 plus 3 is 12, and I've got x over 4. Now I can put the 1 there, and now I can multiply and divide. So you got to kind of watch out for that. See, up here, I just had the number beneath the x and the number over here, so I could put a 1. But if I would have put a 1 under the 9, well, I'd have had a problem with that minus 3. So I want a plus 3 to the 9, and then now I can set up my cross multiply and divide. So 4 times 8. Divide by 1, and that's 48. So x equals 48. Okay, then on the next page, gets a little bit tougher. Okay, you have an x here, but you have an x here, so you can't dot it when you have two of them. So what I ask myself is, okay, are they on the same side of the equals, or are they on opposite sides? Are those x's on the same side or opposite sides? It looks to me like they are on the same side. So if the x's are on the same side, you just add across, okay? So I take 12 plus negative 3. Okay, so 12 plus negative, those are my x's. 12 plus negative 3, and that's 9. Okay, 12 negative 3. So I put 9x. Now I did have this negative 5, so I bring the negative 5 here, and then I have 40 all by itself. Now that this is the only x, I can dot it and circle it, and then do the equation from there. So I have a negative 5. I'm going to need to plus 5. So 9 dot x, 40 plus 5 is 45. Okay. All right, and then I will be dividing by 9. And 45 divided by 9 is 5. You don't believe me? Here you go. And that's my answer, 5. Okay. All right, now the next one, you see these rainbows. That's to get rid of your parentheses. So I've got 13 over here, and now I need to multiply. I need to take negative 3 times 1, and that's negative 3, but that would have an x connected to it because the 1 had an x. And then negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Okay. So plus 15. Then I take out the parentheses along with the multiplying number, and I still have the 5x. Okay, now I can't dot the x because there's 2 of them. So are they on the same side of the equals or on opposite sides? Looks to me like, again, they're on the same side. Okay, so if they're on the same side, I'm just going to add across. And that simply means take your calculator, if you have to, take negative 3 plus 5, and that's 2. So we're going to have 2x. And I had this 15 here, because I added these, I got 2, and then I got 15, then 13. Now that I have just the singular x, I can dot it and circle it. And then I've got plus 15, so I need to minus 15, minus 15. So I've got 2 dot x, and 13 minus 15 is negative 2. And then it is time to divide by the 2 so that these can cancel, and I can get my answer. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. You don't believe me? Here you go. Okay, my next problem. Again, I can't dot the x because we have a negative 2x and a 3x. Okay. This time they're not on the same side. They're on opposite sides. So if the variables are on opposite sides, we can't just add across. If you just take negative 2 plus 3, that's incorrect. They have to be on the same side to do that. So when they're on opposite sides, what I say is switch right. Here's what switch right means. You take that 3x, and you're going to make that negative, meaning minus. So cross it out, and then I do it to the negative 2x. Okay? So to figure out what that is, I take negative 2 minus 3, and that's negative 5x. Now we also have a 10, so plus 10, and then we have a negative 20. Now more importantly, I have a singular x that I can dot. So I dot it and circle it. So plus 10, we'd minus 10. Okay, so I take negative 20 minus 10, and that gives me negative 30. And I've got negative 5 dot x. Okay, now we're good for the division. Divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5, and that's going to be my answer. So negative 30 divided by negative 5 is 6. So x is 6. Okay, and then on this one right here, you got those rainbows, so that means multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. There'd be no x because neither 2 or 3 had an x. And then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And that would need an x because the negative 1 has an x. Okay, and then over here we still got 9 plus 4x. Okay, now I got both 2 x's here, and it looks to me like they're on the opposite side of the equals. Okay, so again, we can't just add across, we need to switch right. Okay, so take the x on the right, the -2, and make it positive 2x. And that means we'll add it. Okay, so 4x plus 2x gives me 6x. I also have a 9, and then I've got 6. So now that I have this, I dot my 6x, and now it's pretty academic from there. I subtract my 9. Okay, 6 minus 9 is -3. And 6 dot x, okay? And then I'm going to divide by 6, divide by 6. -3 divided by 6 is -0.5. Okay, pause the video and complete those rest of those problems. Remember on number 2, put a 1 in front so you can multiply and divide. Number 4, you're going to put a 1 over here, but first you got to minus the 3, okay? It's -5 and then x over 7. You can put a 1 under that. Okay, now here's what's up with the next packet. It says you're not solving an equation. Those equations you just solved only had one answer for the x. Now when you solve an inequality, okay, when you solve an inequality, you're going to see a greater than or less than, sometimes an equal to, in the middle, okay? Remember, this is greater than, this is less than. It says x minus 4, and then that's a less than sign, is less than 1, okay? So I have to find all the possible numbers for x so that when I subtract 4, I'm going to get an answer that's less than 1, okay? Now, nobody can physically write every single one of those numbers because it's infinite. So what you graph, you make the number line with the 0, okay? And you need to find your critical number. So here's my x, and all these x's on this assignment will not have a number in front, so they'll all be 1, okay, with the dot. So my x is on this side of the less than sign. So it's a -4, so I would do just what I do when it says equals. I plus 4 and plus 4. Now the sign is right there. Just drop the same sign down. And 1 dot x, and 1 plus 4 is 5, okay? Now, having a 1 as a dot means I can just forget about it, okay? So x is less than 5, okay? And at the end, 5 is my critical number. Now, before you can't be equal, you can only be less than. So the letter needs to come first, the number needs to come second, which it does. So that's in correct order, okay? So I don't need to switch the order. That's what I'm graphing. I'm graphing less than. Okay. Okay, and that's it. Okay, next one. 8 is greater than or equal to x minus 2. So again, I have to find all the possible numbers for x that make 8 greater than any number x minus 2. So I put a 1 in front. I'm going to circle that. Remember, we want to do our number line. Okay, outside the circle on this side, we have a -2. There's a 2 being subtracted. So I would plus 2 and plus 2. Now, this is my sign. 8 plus 2 is 10. And over here, we got 1 dot x. Well, we can say forget the 1, okay? But here's a problem. The number should not come before the variable. It should not come before the letter. So this is incorrect order, okay? So if you end up with the number and then the variable, you need to switch the order, and then you switch the greater than to a less than. Equal to stays. So my critical number's 10. It's not hard to get that. And then I circle. Now you want to fill it in because you can be equal to, and that's a less than sign, okay? So less than means it goes this way, okay? So x can be any number that's less than 10. Okay, my next problem. So I put a 1 in front, dot it, and circle it. we do have a 5 being added to that circle, so I subtract it. Okay, so over here I've got 1 dot x, and over on the other side I take negative 7 minus 5. It's negative 12. And if your dotted number's a 1, you can just forget about it. Now, the letter and then the number. That's correct, okay? So it's correct order. So negative 12 is your critical number. You're not equal to, and then it's, again, that sign is a less than sign. So that's going to be all the numbers that are less than negative 12. Okay, next one. 4 plus x is greater than 7. So I put a 1 in front, dot it, circle it. Okay, so I'm not concerned about that side. I have a 4 being added. It's positive, so I switch that to minus 4. And I minus 4 from 7. So I've got 1 dot x and then 3. Okay, x. X comes first, then the number, so that's exactly how I want it. It's correct. So 3 is your critical number. Can't be equal to, and then it's a greater than sign. Okay? So greater than would be all the numbers this way, 4, 5, 6, all that. Okay, next one. Put a 1 in front, dot it and circle it. Got a 15 being minus, so I switch it to plus 15. Drop that sign, and we got 1 dot x. I'm going to be taking negative 12 plus 15. That's 3. Okay. Again, if the dot number is a 1, I don't need to divide. Okay. Okay, again, I want the letter, then the number, so that's correct. Okay. So 3 is your critical number. You can't be equal, only greater than. Okay, next one, x plus 6 is greater than 4, negative 4. So I put the 1 in front, dot it, and circle it. So we have a plus 6. We need to get rid of that 6 by subtracting 6. And 1 dot x. Negative 4 minus 6. It's going to be negative 10. And again, take the 1 away. Okay, that's in correct order, okay? I always want to end up with my variable and then the critical number, okay? Now, if I end up with the critical number and then the variable, I need to switch the order, but I'm good there. Okay, that is greater than, and it goes that direction. Okay, negative 1 is greater than or equal to x plus 12, okay? So again, I'm going to put a 1 in front. Dot it. Now this time, again, you're looking at this side here. I don't care what's over there right now. Okay, I will, but yet first I got to worry about how would I cancel a plus 12. We'll switch it to minus 12. And then minus 12 to the other side. Okay, over here I've got 1 dot x. And over on the other side, negative 1 minus 12 is negative 13. Again, if the dotted number is a 1, we don't need to divide. Okay, now before I graph this, this is in incorrect order. Okay, the reason it's in incorrect order is because the x needs to come and then the negative 13. So if you switch the order, that sign needs to go the opposite way. Okay, so I end up with a less than sign. So negative 13, circle. Fill it in, and it's a less than, so it goes this way. Okay, and then my last one, okay? Okay, so I don't really care about this side, so I'm going to take that off camera. I have this 9 here, so I had minus 9, minus 9, okay? So over here is my 1 dot x, and over on the other side I take 2 minus 9. That's negative 7. We can take the 1 away, but this again, the x should come first, okay? So that's incorrect. Your letter needs to be listed first in the end. So x, -7, and we're going to flip that, okay? So that sign ended up being greater than. Okay, so -7 is the critical number. It's not going to be equal to, only greater than. So there we go.